What is up, Copy Squad? It's your boy, Kyle Milligan, coming to you live from Baltimore, Maryland. And today we're going to talk about the analysis paralysis cure for new marketers and copywriters. Now, let's say you've just started copywriting and you are suffering from information overload, and it's creating what's known as decision paralysis, where you've got all this excess information flying in, and it's like oversaturation. Like, you've got information saturation. There's so many like rhyming words that work for this, but basically you've been completely overwhelmed by all the stuff out there. While I'm waiting for people to pile in here, I feel like I should stall a little bit. I don't want people to miss. Let me go ahead and let you know that we're going to be focusing on I'm stalling. I should probably just keep talking, but yeah, I want to make sure that nobody misses this. I have to resum it 10 times. So yeah, we're going to be talking about the analysis paralysis cure for copywriters. Before I forget, I'll go ahead and just pitch my book. How about that? If you want, you can find out how to basically streamline and structure doing your marketing and copywriting through my book called Take Their Money at kylethewriter.com/book. If someone would type that in the comments for me. Again, we're still just kind of waiting. I started talking about the content way too early, and I was like, oh man, nobody's in here yet. And they're going to be like, what are you talking about? Yeah, we're talking about analysis paralysis cure for new marketers and copywriters. Okay? All right, cool. I think I'm just going to jump into it, and I'll fill everyone in as they get in here. So the topic today comes from a weird, these topics usually come up because somehow, folks just start emailing the same question at the same time. I don't know if it's my videos that trigger this stuff, but I start getting, for instance, someone messaged me, and I invite you to message me and tell me all your problems. I want to know all your problems, what you're struggling with, what makes you angry or happy or sad. And someone messaged me they were swearing. I don't know where the blank word to start. There's so much stuff. I'm just spinning my wheels. I'm so frustrated. So that's one person. Another person emailed me and said something I just don't know which of these gurus to go with. There's 10 gurus. I'm reading all their books, and I don't know, all their strategies are kind of the same, but they're different. And then, oh man, I had a YouTube comment, I think it was, but it was also something very similar. And then it kind of struck me today. I'll tell you my story right quick again, as we're waiting for more people to file in here. Ooh, what I can do, I can show you around the Agora Financial basement. This is where we did Copy Camp. This is where all the new copywriters would sit. Right down here. It's empty now. There's nobody down here. Just me. This is where I used to sit when I was in Copy Camp, and I wrote Trump bonus checks right here. Okay, let's see. We got some people in? Yep. All right, what up, Jack? Welcome to the live. All right, cool. So I had it happen to me today. Today I was in a meeting where we were kind of going over modes of improvement for a promo that just went out. It wasn't even my promo, but I was sitting in on the meeting, and this is kind of how I learn. When I'm in Baltimore, I am at all the meetings. I'm taking notes on my legal pad, and I'm trying to learn. I don't generally get much free time. I'm just sitting here learning from the best in the world. I go to all their meetings, whether I'm a part of the project or not. I just sit there and I take notes. So that's also one of the advantages you have when you have a job at a copywriting powerhouse instead of it's a freelancer. Anyway, I went through the whole meeting, and everyone wrapped up, and I didn't say a word the whole entire meeting, and then it was done, and they said, any questions? And I was like, I got one question. And I was like, okay, we talked about all this stuff. We talked about sending text messages. We talked about self-liquidating offers. We talked about streamlining our email sequences and segmenting our audiences. I was like, but what's one thing? We talked for an hour and some change and some really in-depth marketing stuff. I was like, well, what's one thing that if I wanted to just put out a promo tomorrow and it's just a basic page, a sales page, text, what's one thing that I can do that we talked about today? And not even think in the context of the system that we were just talking about. What's one thing that I can just do? And that was the same thing. It was this idea of information overload. It wasn't necessarily analysis paralysis, but that was me getting ahead of it, because it is that information saturation that causes all this excess information to pile up and make you start spinning your wheels and get stuck, right? So I think I've got the analysis paralysis cure, and I'm going to kind of break it down into steps, I think I would call it. So I've talked to you guys about my research process before, when I'm writing a promo, and also I also offer a research video service. I've got 5 modules. I got 6 videos and 5 modules on the same page as my book sales page. It's at kylethewriter.com/book. But the research process is really heavy and important. And one of the things that I do is this is how it also goes into analysis paralysis. To start my research process, I funnel by like one major thing. The first thing I funnel by is like, okay, what am I trying to write? And generally it's like I'm writing either a front end or a back end, and I'm either going to write about like a single stock, because I'm in financial copywriting. I'm either going to be writing about a single stock, or I'm going to be writing about like a prediction, or I'm going to be writing about a sales, or not sales, but like a financial system, like a stock picking system. So those are my kind of like branches. So once I narrow it down to, okay, it's going to be a front end, let's say it's a back end system promo. It's like the easiest go-to right now. So I'm going to write a system promo for a back end. So immediately what I would do for my research, and this would help you narrow and focus it so that you don't get this information overload, is I would immediately start looking for other back ends that are selling systems, right? And it seems so obvious, like Obvious Adams. Obvious Adams is a book they gave us in Copy Camp about a fictional businessman who just did the obvious things and he became very successful. But it's super obvious Adams, like, okay, I want to write a financial backend, so what should I do? I should go find financial backend newsletters and read those. And that's kind of what the whole book, Take Their Money, is about finding the thing that you want to do and how to reverse engineer it so that you can do it just as good or better. Take the best parts for several promos. So what I do, I try to read like 5. Okay, I try to find like 5 promos that are already selling something similar to what I'm selling. They're writing in a similar manner because they're kind of going with, they all have their own unique approach, but they're all selling a back-end system. I'll read all 5, okay? I'll absorb all that information. Like, it'll go here, I'll take notes, whatever. And then, this is how you overcome analysis paralysis. And like, this is, I think, where most people get hung up too. Like, I want to write a sales letter. Okay, I go buy Dan Kennedy's book. I go buy Joe Sugarman's book. I go buy Gary Halbert's book. Now I want to write a letter. All those dudes write different stuff, right? They write their own way. They have their own system. And then you go buy my book and it's totally different too. Like, oh crap, who do I follow? Who do I listen to? Well, listen, read all of them. I do not think it is a bad thing to constantly be reading. I promote like reading a lot of books. I think that's a very important thing to do. However, you read them all, okay? So I read 5 system backends, and some are better than others. As a matter of fact, I usually take, if I can find 3 really high performers, I'll take 3, and I will go back and I'll dissect 3, okay? And the way I do that is usually with this like legal pad here, and I'll make like little stars and notes, and then I'll like draw up like what I saw happening. Well, nowadays I use my Surface Book, like this thing right here, and you guys have seen me do that, but my Surface Book pen, and I'll sit there and I can mark it up. So I'll go back and I'll dissect like my favorite 3, like super hardcore, and I'll try to like tease out where they're using new, easy, safe, and big, and how they start, like what's the big promise that they're coming at? How do they tease it how do they tease the hook into the big promise? And what is the big promise? And I try to like break apart all of this stuff, which is how I teach you how to read copy and Take Their Money, my book. So I'll do that for 3. Okay. Now this is the next step. This is how you eliminate analysis paralysis. I've got 3. Okay. I started with 5. I read 5 promos. I broke down my favorite 3 and tried to understand my favorite parts. Sometimes I only get 2. If it's really niche and I can't find like a bunch of prime examples, I'll break it down to like 2. Then I really, really strongly read those 2, and then I pick 1. I pick 1, and this one is going to be my like model. Like, this is who I'm going to focus on. For instance, I can explain like that. I do that to everything I do, every approach I make. That eliminates analysis paralysis. Like what I'm doing right here, going live every day and making offers. I have read so much stuff about marketing. I've read so much stuff about sales and copywriting. But at the end of the day, when I knew I wanted to build an audience and I wanted to create a following, at the time I didn't know why or what I would do with it. I just started making YouTube videos, and then eventually I wanted to write a book and I wanted to sell it. And I looked around, and who was doing it the way I thought was best was Frank Kern. Frank Kern goes live every day, and he either pitches his class or he pitches his book. He does it several times a call. And I simply I've absorbed tons and tons of books of marketing, and I've watched tons of courses or online stuff, and I've watched YouTube videos. And then at the end of the day, I said, that's it. I'm going to emulate Frank Kern. The knowledge is there. I know it. It's in the back of my head, but I'm not trying to be those guys. I have decidedly made the call, I've made the decision that I'm going to emulate one person. That's Frank Kern. That eliminates analysis paralysis. Like one of the emails I got today that made me decide to do this video. I was sitting in that meeting and someone said, dude, I don't know which guru to follow. I'm reading all these books. And I was like, yeah, I'm getting all this information in this meeting. I don't know what thing to do next. Like, what's the one thing I can actually do to improve my game with these 50 different things flying at me? And I even asked them at the end of the meeting, well, what's the one thing I can do? That's the thing. Like, I am really good at picking like one thing, saying I'm going to do that, and then I go do it. For better or for worse, whether I'm good at it or not, I just go do it. So I think if you want to get over like the analysis paralysis of being a copywriter, like I want to write a promo, I want to write an email, I want to write a sales letter, I want to do this, I want to do that. No, dude, you aren't committing. So what you got to do is, I do invite you to kind of like go ahead and read everything. Get all the information you can. Pile that knowledge into your brain, right? That's totally cool. I want to find out, was it John Carlton? Which copywriter said you should research 8 times more than you need? But yeah, that's how it goes, man. Read everything, okay? Now, whenever you start out reading everything. Then you kind of narrow it down to like, I kind of like these 3 ideas. Let me see those really close. Let me take a closer look at those. And then finally pick one and say, actually, this guru is the guru whose system I like the best. This is the person I want to follow and emulate, and that's who I'm going to stick to. And at that point, all the other stuff you learned is still salient, it's still relevant, it's still in your brain, and you can call it up, right? It's still in there. But you don't use it, you don't follow it like a recipe, like you follow the one. You find the one, and that becomes your recipe. And you don't copy, but you mimic, you imitate, all right? And then after a year or so of doing this every day, then you can begin to innovate. Maybe someday I'll do something unique and special in my own Kyle way, but for now, I'm just going to imitate Frank Kern until I figure out how this works for me. And that is by going live every day, giving you some free value, and then saying, hey, if you want to learn how to write words that really sell, go to kylethewriter.com/book. Check out my book, take their money. Now, this also gave me an idea. This question and this topic of analysis paralysis and trying to come up with a cure for that, I have an idea. And this is like a product that I've been juggling in my head, and I have had no idea how I would package this and how I could sell it. So here's where I'm at with it right now. And I think I'm going to show you my screen and just kind of get your feedback on this. So we'll go to, where is it? Is it this one? Can you see my screen? Yeah. Okay, so we'll bring up this. Okay, so this is my latest promo. And what I was doing is I would every day, I started writing it on November 13th. And the final came out on January 15th. Okay, so November 13th, every day, every other day maybe, I'd write. Some days I'd just sit and I'd research for my 2 hours of deep work, and I'd put that into a research doc. But generally every day I was working on this, okay? See, 19, 20, 21, 22, 24. I would work on the sales letter every single day. And let's see, let me get back to me. So yeah, that's what a promo looks like for me, like if I save the difference every day. So I was like, okay, I feel like this is something that would be useful for my audience to see how a promo slowly pieces together. Promos and sales letters do not appear overnight. Like that's why my sales page for my book right now is still very meh. Because I had like an hour to write it and I wrote it. I was just like, okay, whatever. So now I am in the process of writing a sales page, and I'm treating it with the same amount of respect as I treated this paid project, right? I'm doing it like this. And I just sat down and started last night, okay? So that's where we are with it. I started my first, I started a couple headlines. I put it out there to some other copywriters. I talked to people about it, see what their feelings were. Like when I say, whenever you get an idea, pitch everybody. Don't hide your ideas, let them know. So on that note, I want to ask you, I need a better way to phrase selling on the big 4 emotions. You can't just say that every time. I've got to have like the blank system, right? I got to have like some sort of word for it. So I'm feeling for that right now. I'm looking for that label for selling on the big 4 emotions, because that's not sexy. I need like a cool label. That's one of the things I'm like pitching around. Like, how do I sum that up? Like, how do I make that sound cool? How do I make that sound sexy? So that's what I'm doing. So here's where the idea for a product comes in, and this will take a lot of time. So it could take me like a month or 2 to put this one together, and it'll also delay the final sales page for my book for scaling and putting out advertisements, because I'm not going to advertise until I have a real sales page. So here's what I ask. This is what I'm thinking, guys. I'm thinking what I will do is I'll go back and I will start to save every single draft like I did for this guy, right? And except it'll say head and lead draft for take their money sales page. And what I want to do is every time I write a page, right? What's up, guys? Thanks for joining in. Let me go back to this. Okay, so every time I write a page, like I have a page I wrote on the airplane today and I saved it. What I think I'll do is at the end of the day, I'll explain what I wrote. I'll explain where I got the research from, why I decided to start there, why I decided to go get research at this point, because I'm putting comments in it in the sidelines right now in the margins, like, oh, I need this. Like as I'm typing, like, oh, I forgot, I need to go find something that proves this. And I'll type, and I'm like, oh, you know, it'd be a really cool angle, it's this. And I'll put that comment in the margins. So what I'm thinking is I will write for one day, like I normally do. And at the end of the day, I'll sit down and record a video like this for you guys. And I'll say, here's what I did today, and here's why. Okay, that's day one. And then day two, what I would do is I'll show you yesterday's document. No, for day two, I'll write over yesterday's document and save it. Except I'll save it with tracked changes on Microsoft Word so that you can see everything that I added or subtracted. And then I'll sit down at the end of day two and do a little video and say, hey, here's what I wrote today. Here's why I went and found the research. Here's why I decided to go find that research. And here's what was important about that. This is going to be a really long process because it's basically going to turn out to look, it's going to look like this, except every one of these drafts is going to have a video attached to it. Okay, so you'll get a video with every single one of those. And then what I'm thinking the end result will be is basically the analysis paralysis cure. It'll be like the single copywriting course you ever need because it'll show you day by day the process. And you can just basically sit there and just kind of watch me do it. And then you'll have also Take Their Money is a great resource for starting out. And I'm thinking because of the scope of this, the impact, like this could be like the only copywriting course you ever need sort of thing. I'm thinking this will be my $2,000 back end that I've been searching for. It will be like an enormous like masterclass. Like you'll see the words appear on the page. And I'm thinking $2,500 might actually be more appropriate. So, and again, it's going to take me about probably like a month or two to put this together. It's going to delay my sales page from being written, so I can't scale my current offer, so I'm losing money there. But I think that is probably going to be the back-end offer, my first back-end product. And that could be the one that like, just carries me forever. Like, that's a really strong one. That's going to be a front-end letter that we're writing. Maybe we'll do a second one if that one works, where I show you how I write the back-end letter for that product. You know, maybe we could do that. I don't know. But I'm putting that out there. So like I said, when you have an idea, pitch it. I'm pitching the idea to you. What if I gave you like the single copywriting course, the only copywriting course you'll ever need? Because you can actually sit there and see day by day the page get written. Instead of me telling you like, oh, do this, do that, do this, do that. I actually just do it in front of you. And I say, look, here's it in action. It's like I can tell you how to build a house, or you could sit there and see me hammer and nail every piece of wood until a house is built. So that's my idea. That's my idea. That's one of my ideas. It's my idea for the day. You know, I tell you, read a piece of copy a day, write a piece of copy a day, come up with an idea a day. There's my idea. All right. So again, let's talk about the analysis paralysis cure, about the topic of this, this live. So yeah, basically, if you're feeling paralyzed by how many options you have, the easiest way to combat that is to simply start big. Start big. Definitely start big. Start reading everything. That's totally fine. The thing is, whenever you decide it's time to take action, you need to immediately begin to narrow it down. Very focused and decisively cut things out. Okay? So I start with reading 5 promos, and then I cut it down to like my favorite 2 or 3. Sometimes 2, sometimes 3. But then I pick like one, and I emulate it. Like my promo is going to model this one, and it'll probably draw some elements from number 2. You know, if I broke down 3, I'll probably discard 1 entirely, and then use this one as my model, and then like emulate pieces of this too. That way, you know, it doesn't look like a carbon copy of this. But I think that's where analysis paralysis stems from, is people aren't willing to do that. Just once you kind of go ahead, read every guru's thing, watch every video, go to every seminar or course or whatever it is that you do, and then when it's time to sit down, pick one. That's your thing, and then do that. That's all I do. That's all I do for anything I do. whether it's YouTube videos, whether it's writing sales letters, whether it's coming up with like my marketing strategy here, blah blah blah. I'm really just copying like my favorite gurus or my favorite copywriters. So that's it for today, Copy Squad. That's all I got. Let's see if we got any questions. It looks like I'm gonna have to start sending out emails for my daily lives because we had a little bit slack attendance today. But if you got any questions, you got like 5 seconds to drop them, but I'm signing off. All right. And thanks so much for tuning in, Copy Squad. Peace out.